Good morning everyone, dear students, and once again I welcome you on the online platform of Captain Zile Singh Academy. Today we will do the verbs. How? First we will do the classification of verb. In English, for example, we have simple verbs: work, live, to be. But in Spanish there is a classification between the verbs. Basically there are two kinds of verb. First is regular, second one is irregular, and then the conjugation of the verb, which verb we have to use with the direct pronoun or with the personal pronouns. So classification and the endings, it's depend on the verb. First try to understand what actually the verb is. What is a verb? So verb is a doing word. A verb is a doing word. Doing word means action word which describe what someone or something does. Doing word which describe what someone or something does. What someone or something does, and or what something or someone is. You can say what someone or something is. So the word basically is a doing word. Verb is a doing word, or you can say action word, which describe what someone or something does. So in Spanish basically we have two kinds of verb. First is regular verb. Regular means which. Regular verbs are the verbs which follow the common rule, or you can say which follow the normal rules. Common rule, or which follow the normal rules. So these are the regular verbs. For example, trabajar. Trabajar means to work. Trabajar means to work. So it follow the common rule. Trabajar is the verb. Trabajar means to work. Second type of verb is this one is the first, and second is irregular verb. Irregular verb means which doesn't follow normal rules. Which doesn't follow normal rules. So these are known as irregular verbs. For example, jugar. Jugar means to play. So basically in Spanish two types of verbs are there. First is regular. Regular verbs are the verbs which follow the normal rules. Second one is irregular. Irregular verbs are the verbs which doesn't follow the normal rule. So these are the two types of verbs in Spanish: regular, irregular. Two types of verbs we have in Spanish. And what is a verb? Verb is a word, or verb is a doing word, doing action, doing word, or the action word. So For example, Regular, I told you, trabajar. Irregular, jugar. Jugar means to play. Trabajar means to work. So these are the basic two kinds of verb in Spanish. Now, almost in Spanish, almost all the verbs have a form that is called infinitive. These are some rules. All the verbs in Spanish have a form that is called infinitive. Infinitive means all the verbs, they have a form that is called infinitive. And what is this? This is actually the base form of a verb. So this infinitive, what is this? This is the base form. What actual the verb is, that tell us. This is the base form of a verb. So almost all the verbs in Spanish have a form that is called infinitive, and this is a base form of the verb. For example, walk, see means that infinitive means that hasn't have any ending, means no ending. In simple word, if we'll say, then it does, what does infinitive means? That hasn't have any ending, means no ending. So in Spanish, infinitive are always made of just one word. So in Spanish, infinitive made of a one word means infinitive made up just one word. For example, and ends in Spanish, infinitive made up in Spanish, infinitive is always made up of just one word. Made up of just one word. For example, and ends with ER, AR or IR. So how you will identify? In Spanish, infinitive made up just one word and ends with AR, ER and IR. For example, ER ending comer, last ending with ER. AR ending hablar, ending with AR. IR ending escribir, ending with IR. So the form in Spanish, infinitive made up of just one word and ends with either it will end with ER or AR or ER. So this is called, all these, the ending is with either with ER, with AR or IR. So all these ending or all Spanish verbs belongs to these three endings. All Spanish verbs belongs to these endings. So all Spanish verbs belongs to these ending with ER, ending with AR or ending with IR. For example, these are the endings of a verb in Spanish. Now, in English, regular verb have what the regular verb have other forms apart the infinitive. For example, walked, walking. But in Spanish, verb have many forms of that. This we are made of ending to a string. So this is what the ending of a verbs. And one more thing is that what I told you, that basically infinitive made up of just one word and ends with either it will end with ER or it will end with AR or it will end with IR. So all Spanish verbs belongs to these endings. Now the one more important thing is that Spanish verbs ending change depending on who or what doing the action and on when the action take place. Means the ending will change. Ending will change when depends on who is doing the action. The Spanish ending change depends on who or what is doing the action and on when the action takes place. And when the action takes place. So all Spanish verbs belongs to these endings, and ending will change depends on who and what is who is doing the action and when the action takes place. In fact, the ending in very so this is ending will change when or what the action or when the action takes place or who is doing the action. On this also the Spanish endings will also change. Spanish ending verbs also change. One more thing is that Spanish verbs form also can change depending on whether you are talking about the past, present and future. Spanish Spanish verb forms are also change depending on or whether you are talking depending on whatever or whether you are talking about past, present and future. Past, present and future. So on this also the Spanish verb can also be changed. So these are the some common rules related to the verb. What is a verb? Verb basically is a different forms depending on what or so some key points now we will do. What is a verb? Verb is a doing word or action word, you can say. Verb is action or you can say doing world. That is fine. Then Spanish verbs have different forms depending on who or what is doing the action on the tense, or what or doing action on the end on the tense. Spanish verbs have different form depending on what or who is doing the action, depending on what or who is doing the action and on the tense. Second form, say this. Second is Spanish verb also made up of a stream, or you can say an ending. Spanish verbs made of a stream or an ending. I told you AR, ER and IR. All the Spanish verbs end with these endings AR, ER or IR. Then regular verb form the standard pattern for AR, ER and IR verb. Irregular verb doesn't follow it. Regular verb follow the standard pattern for the standard pattern for AR, ER and IR ending, but irregular verb doesn't follow this pattern. But irregular verbs doesn't follow this pattern. And the classifications I told you, two kinds of verb. One is regular, second one is irregular. Two kinds of verb are there in Spanish, regular and irregular. Now let's move to the verbs. For example, some basic usual verbs are trabajar. Trabajar. First we need to see its end with AR. So AR ending verb it is. AR ending. Types we did two types, regular, irregular. Now classification we can do. Classification of the verbs. First is end with AR, ending with AR. For example, trabajar. So ending words are AR. So trabajar means to work. Trabajar. Trabajar means to work, to do work. Second is ER ending. ER ending verb. For example, comer. COMER ends with ER. Comer means to eat. Comer means to eat. And the third one is IR India.